thank you all for coming over here. And again, please, a round of applause for all of them. I think I'll start with a question each for all. Naveed Saab, what do you think the incentives are, and how is this national EV going to impact the adoption of EVs in Pakistan?
Thank you very much, Aazir. So I think I was part of the team that developed the EV policy of 2019 at that time, with a lot of ambitions and lots of apprehensions also from the stakeholders. The policy, I mean, there were several challenges the policy faced. And while I'm going to say that what we are doing different in this time in the policy, or the government is going different and we are advising them, we would like to look at that what didn't work. So one of the things that didn't work in the previous policy was that there was no champion of it. It was a kind of an orphan policy that was at that time enacted by the Ministry of Climate Change, but it was a ministry that was not designated to bring on EVs. That's another ministry, Ministry of Industries and Production. So that's why the first problem started from there. The biggest problem I think that came was that at the federal level the policy was enacted, but at the provincial level the follow-up was less, because most of the vehicles are in provinces. The second thing that actually was problematic in terms of financing and others was that high acquisition cost of EVs. And finally, there were safety and you can say the quality issues. They were also not dealt in the policy. So I would say these are the three main things that actually impede the progress at that time.
Rabeel Saab, what is your take on, the one thing that was mentioned a lot was the incentives, especially the incentives for private investment to come in.
What was missing before was ultimately like not the right incentives in place. And when I say by incentives, private sector investors look for a combination of things, of which returns are a primary factor, financial returns. But more and more globally, we're seeing a lot of movement towards climate action fueled by VC or venture capital. And we're seeing this narrative shift, first of all, from a compliance-based climate action approach to a VC-backed, profitable and sustainable approach that they're looking for. What Pakistan didn't have for the longest time, and still doesn't have, if I may dare say so, is channeling of that climate finance that's available towards these innovation-driven industries, early-stage startups that can then provide those localized solutions, as Senator Rahman was also saying, which can only really be fueled by VC, which requires, by definition, private sector participation as well.
Are there any innovative financing solutions that you're looking into or thinking about? And is there any collaborations that you've looked into with on either the private side or the government side that banks like yours can provide or are looking into for this financing of these EVs and things?
We as a bank are looking at this entire ecosystem as a new opportunity for banking industry to expand their business. Especially the financing side is very important, because all banks are looking for new avenues to expand their advances portfolio, and that is also the need of the hour as realized by the regulators and the government and the banks themselves, that our reliance on deployment of or growing our asset book is by and large directed towards the government bonds, and everyone wants to find commercial avenues and divert towards that area. And this is a great area, because this is not only from the environmental point of view, but from the sustainable economic point of view for Pakistan as well. On the other hand, the challenge for our exporters by and large is our very high cost of electricity. Wherever you go, all customers who are interested in solar financing or any other renewable energy financing, they're asking for incentives. Every single customer, they come to bank, they ask for, and there are no subsidized schemes right now when it comes to renewable energy products.
Zafar Masud Sahab, what kind of steps is, like, for example, Bank of Punjab taking to make a collaborative effort with all of these stakeholders?
एक तो हमें एक बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है बीइंग अ सरकारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कि we tend to get a lot of support from the government and we have a different comfort level with the government as well. So एक तो पहली जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात है वो ये कि सरकार का रोल है, सरकार का रोल रहना चाहिए और हमें उसको डिमांड करना चाहिए. लेट्स आस्क फॉर इस, ये फोरम शुड यूज़ दिस कि आप मांगें ये डिमांड, ये हमारा राइट है, इसमें इतनी परेशानी की क्या बात है. अगर जिस तरह वो सेनेटर साहबा कह रही थी कि पॉलिसीज़ जो अगर बेनिफिट इंडिविजुअल्स को ही नहीं हो रहा तो उस पॉलिसी का फ़ायदा क्या है. अच्छा, एक और मेरा बड़ा ये फेवरेट टॉपिक है और मैं हर दफ़ा ये रीएम्फसाइज, तो ये सरकार वाली बात जो मैंने आपसे पहले की और दूसरी ये वाली, ये सारे एक्शंस जो है ना ये CSR से नहीं चल सकते. अगर हम ये अज्यूम कर लें कि जी CSR हो जाएगा और हम इन चीज़ों को एड्रेस कर लेंगे, द क्वांटम एंड द मैग्नीट्यूड इज़ सो इनॉर्मस. CSR के ज़ुमरे में हमने ये जो अभी जो वेरियस वर्कशॉप्स हैं इनमें हमने कन्वर्जन के लिए एक सिस्टम उनको दिया है. फाइनेंसिंग उसकी हो रही है, इंटरेस्ट जो है वो हमने वेव कर दिया एज BOP, कर्ज हंसना समझ लीजिए आतिफ की लैंग्वेज में, इस्लामिक बैंकिंग की लैंग्वेज में, वो हमने एक्सटेंड किया है, जहाँ पर हम वर्कशॉप्स को ये इनकरेज कर रहे हैं कि आप एग्जिस्टिंग व्हीकल्स को कन्वर्ट करें इनटू इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स.
How do you think the government is funding for all of that?
हाँ, ये बड़ा अच्छा सवाल है आपका.
That's the one.
बहुत अच्छा सवाल है. The federal government is constrained on the fiscal side for sure, but वो जो हमारी ट्रेजरी की टर्मिनोलॉजी है, the provinces are long as far as the fiscal leeway is concerned. Now the provinces have enough resources available to support these kind of initiatives, but unfortunately provinces have their own set of issues. They have serious capacity issues of policy development and implementation. They have serious problems of wastage in the process. Although, by the way, decision making के point of view से भी, the decision making is much more simpler in a province as a rule of business जिसको हम कहते हैं, than the federal government. Federal government के अंदर बहुत मुश्किल decision making होती है, stakeholders बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, provinces ही खुद ही उसके अंदर आ जाते हैं, especially EV type की situation के अंदर.
Dr. Naveed साहब, एक ये कि incentives to the public, ये बात रही थी कि I mean that अगर if it becomes cheap for them and everything, there's a lot of things that can move forward and everything. Do you think the new national EV policy is going far enough?
So there are two important things that we are assuming in the whole EV value chain, in the policy as well as most of the manufacturers that they are coming. Number one, that the total cost of ownership of an EV is already quite good. So in 3-4 years time, the operational maintenance cost actually gives you the same benefit that you have with an ICE vehicle. And for certain kind of vehicle, this is already reached. So I think the main financing that we need, the kind of, you can say, the subsidized financing for these 8 years, and not in the whole volume, it could be a, you can say, decaying subsidy that can come. So these two facts, that the total cost of ownership is already less, and the upfront price is going to be compatible in about 6, 7, 8 years, depending on how fast you go. I think lots of things can change. What the role of the government in the policy is to create that inflection point to take this off.
I'm just going to take your views, very shortly, views of now.
जी बिल्कुल, मैं बिल्कुल एग्री करूँगा कि वो ज़फ़र साहब ने भी बात की, हैंडआउट्स का वक्त ख़त्म हो गया, राइट. वो हमें लगता है कि जी एक क्लाइमेट फाइनेंस की एक बाहर दुनिया है जहाँ पे आप जाएंगे, अपना वो कटोरा लेके जाएंगे और लाइक everyone's just going to fill it up. Why should they, right? Because अगर वाकई एक planet है and there are competing uses of that capital, we need to put forward a coherent, actionable plan in front of them that achieves the objectives which is meant to be achieved. पर अब क्या हमें करने की ज़रूरत है, हमें वो जो कैपिटल है उसको हमें डायरेक्ट करने की ज़रूरत है towards those end users, towards those end companies, because model जाएगा अब वही PPP की तरफ, right? There is no model where, at least in climate finance, based on like the space that I look at, venture capital or private equity, जहाँ पे you can go by it like just with private sector participants and solve for the various different considerations that are there and still have great impact.
What is more required for banks like yours to do it?
जो इन्वेस्टर्स हैं उनको भी ये नहीं पता कि अपना कार्बन रिलेटेड प्रपोजल कैसे जो है डॉक्यूमेंट करें, उसको असेस कैसे करें. तो दिस इज़ समथिंग वेरी न्यू बाय एंड लार्ज, एंड पाकिस्तान लैक्स कैपेसिटी on documenting not only the proposals from institutions like banks but also the entrepreneurs and the government and everyone के कार्बन का उसका impact क्या है और how do we qualify for anything like that.